adjust that.
Hey, I just wanted to share a little bit about our ministry and kind of lead into the questions because I think it'll help in what we're doing. Our ministry has been for more than 30 years, been revitalizing churches, developing leadership skills, helping believers understand their role, the way God spiritually gifted them. We've been able to kind of feel a battle that's been taking place in identifying truth. I think we're really finding ourselves in a post-truth society, and we're found that there's a lot of the surveys that are coming out, younger millennials and Gen Zers. The number one issue that keeps coming up, whether it's a secular survey or a faith-based one, they're all coming with the number one thing: they want to be told the truth. And so we launched Truth and Love Radio Network about a year ago. It's just been a godsend to be able to have this. My son, who's just getting ready to turn 31, has actually got about 16 years in radio, that is heading up the whole thing and is doing a phenomenal job. But we want to make sure that everything we do addresses real world issues from a biblical worldview. So when we heard your song, Lost and Found, at the breakfast event of the quartet, we immediately knew this was going to be a great fit. Then we got the song, He's Got Away. We knew we wanted to develop a relationship with you guys and get more of what you guys are doing. So I really just kind of want to know about your history, what got you here, where you're going with this, and obviously tell me a little about the release of tomorrow's album, Lost and Found. So just share with our audience really what's God's laid on you guys' heart.
Well, I'm Pastor Clint Brown of Judah Church in Orlando. This is Jody Brazelton. He's from Georgia. This is Seth Elby. He is our worship leader here at Judah Church. And all of this was birthed out of our relationship through praise and worship. And so we really went online and started doing Facebook Live during COVID while people were quarantined. And we felt like, man, this is a moment we can bless people. And we started singing, and we went right to our roots, which is really, it's a God thing, because we would normally, I've written almost 600 praise and worship songs, and I got 23 praise and worship albums. We would normally do that. We would normally sing a lot of my praise and worship, or praise and worship that we know is on the cutting edge. And for some reason that day we said, let's sing songs we grew up singing, and from that, it just, exploded in views. I think we had over 150,000 views of that Facebook Live. And it was an indicator to us, not only of what we needed to do, but what the people that were connected to our lives and watched us on a consistent basis wanted from us. And so, it's a supply and demand thing in the ministry. Jesus never went in and fixed anything that wasn't wrong. And so, when we did that, we just thought, maybe God is leading us down this path. And of course, Seth, I'll let him share. He grew up in a home of a minister.
Yeah,
that was very highly influenced by Southern gospel.
Yeah, my whole family, we sang. There were 6 of us, and but me and my 2 brothers and my parents, mainly my dad, would play the piano, and we would all sing in harmonies. And we started singing songs like "Sweeter as the Days Go By." And when we were, me and my 2 brothers, we were so small, they would make us stand on chairs on the stage so people could see us in churches. We would sit, sing songs like "He's Still Working on Me," and so I started very, very young. I was probably 4 or 5 when we started singing songs like that on, for church, and started singing harmonies and all that kind of thing. But it was Southern gospel, and so I was just raised on that. I know on a road trip we were together, and we were listening to the Oak Ridge Boys, and my mom said, "Listen to these guys and these notes, and hear the notes that your dad's singing, and hear the notes that I'm singing, and listen to it." And on that road trip, I learned how to sing harmony and hear harmonies and stuff like that. And so I just grew up singing these songs and hymns and this kind of thing. So when we got together, like he said, even coming up with the name Southbound is us going southbound, going back to our Southern gospel roots. You know, so that's what that means. You know, some people go, well, what does that even mean? You know, we should, you know, we should be heaven bound or whatever, but that's what that means. And so southbound is us going back to our Southern gospel roots that our dads, each one of us influenced us in Southern gospel music and gave us a passion for it.
Yeah, my dad was a pastor of an independent fundamental Baptist church.
Watch it.
Everybody knows what that means.
Grew up in that, thoroughly understand. We're good.
Oh yeah, I do. But my dad was such a loving man. He really was. And the little church I grew up in, to be honest with you, I hear people complain about those churches now, but if it wasn't for my dad and my upbringing in that church, I mean, nobody loved Jesus more than my daddy did.
Yeah.
And he loved people. I remember people coming to our house in the middle of the night, needing prayer and needing healing and needing deliverance and all those things. And my daddy wasn't one of those that didn't believe in that. He believed in it, and he would pray with them all night long if he had to. And as far as music goes, he had me singing from the time I was 10 years old, and had me singing on his little radio show in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Okay.
And then the next thing I knew, he was giving me Kenny Henson, the Henson CDs, you know, live. What was that one we liked so much? Live,
Lift the Roof.
Lift the Roof Off.
Yep.
I was at that concert.
One of the greatest live
Wow,
concerts,
yeah.
live CDs or tape at the time that I'd ever heard, and it influenced me. And so every Sunday I was singing in my church, and then I meet these guys in the early '90s, and then who would have ever thought that years later we'd be around a piano singing the songs that we love and grew up singing.
Well, I was going to ask kind of how y'all got connected, being the Georgia area of Orlando, which I can relate to. So I grew up in Central Florida in Tampa. So I grew up my whole life. I'm now just southwest of Atlanta, and in Atlanta all the time now. So,
Are you a Dogs fan? I just want to ask real quick.
so I have to admit, I am a
Yes or
Florida.
no?
No, well, yes. Anytime you can beat Florida, I am all for you, because I'm a Florida State fan. So.
Oh, no.
Ooh,
Our manager's Florida
ooh, our
State.
manager, look here, Florida State.
There you go. There you go. Garnet gold.
All right,
Yeah,
you play him
of course,
100
I'm gonna
times
show-
a day. You play him 100 times a day, and we'll get you one.
Yeah, I'm gonna show my age. I grew up in the
Yeah.
Bobby Bowden area, knew him well, just a great man of God. So that kind of influenced that. So that
Now,
You know.
Dan, you're
Yes.
in LaGrange?
I'm in LaGrange. Yes, sir.
We were just there.
At Christmas time.
Where were you guys at? Of course, now we were on the road. I was
Yeah,
on the
we were-
road at the time.
We're at Liberty Church.
Okay. Yes. Wow.
Chris
Well,
Yarborough, Pastor Chris Yarborough.
Great
Yep.
friend.
Yes, definitely. Well, the next time you're in, we'll need to get connected there.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're been here for roughly about 15 years, setting our ministry, established it here. It's where my son got into the radio business as well. As a high school teenager, started working at the radio station. Went to college, broadcasting business administration major. Got hired at their radio network because they realized you don't find too many 18-year-olds that had 4 years of experience already in radio.
Yeah.
And actually came back and managed a radio station, FM radio station in the area at the age of 24, which is not normal for someone that age, but with the
Yeah.
experience he's had. And the Lord led us to move into media. And so when he felt like this is what the Lord wanted to do, we immediately launched Truth and Love Radio Network. And the Lord's just really opening up doors. We're actually looking at adding a number of stations in the Carolinas here real soon as well. So Lord's just blown this up. So that's been good. So let me ask you, as you guys talk about going back to your roots, which I really appreciate that, because I understand, really I keep finding myself as ministry's grown, I find myself resetting back to the foundation stuff. So how does that relate, again, what you've been doing as far as pastoring your church? Because I think there's some benefit of that music as well. How are you kind of pulling those two things together?
Well, when it comes to our backgrounds, it really brings us to a place where we are. The great thing is we're progressive in our music. You can hear that in the songs. Lost and Found is pretty mainstream Southern gospel, but if you listen to the other songs on the album, there's a lot of variety on that album. And what it helped us, the roots of Southern gospel helped us is we could still stay current with our sound. We could still stay fresh with a new sound, but still give it the meat that it had from the roots of Southern gospel. So very rarely, most of the time, people in Southern gospel grew up in Southern gospel, wrote Southern gospel, sang Southern gospel, became Southern gospel artists. We didn't do that. We grew up with Southern gospel influences. We went off into a more of a praise and worship style for years and years and years. And then we came back to it, kind of like what you're doing at Truth and Love there, rebooting a fresh word that God has given you. And so what we can do is, what the great thing is we've got the present, which is we're very current with our music, but we've got that history. So we can take that history almost like a recipe and go, yeah, I'm going to make you a steak, but I'm going to put this seasoning on it because that's what my grandfather showed me how to do. And so we're cooking a steak for you today, but it's got grandpa's seasoning on it. And so that's kind of what we're doing.
Good. I appreciate that. That's really, again, what we're looking at is, dealing with things where people are today, but then giving them that truth, that substance that is there, that, that's why I think going back to our roots, making sure we're keeping that, but definitely that current sound. That's really one of the things that caught our attention, is the depth of what you guys are doing at the same time, the relative to what's going on and getting that attention, particularly since we are really, everything about our stations now are going to be really focusing on those younger millennials and those Gen Zers. Not that we're neglecting our generation. I'll put myself, those of us are old, but at the same time, if we don't reach that next generation. So how are you guys, and let me go back to, in your church, because obviously you're focusing on that younger generation. How do you feel like that's going to come across in your music?
Well, I think one of the things that is kind of one of our main focuses is when we go and do, a concert, it's very centered around ministry. It's not a show, and we're very real and transparent. And the Bible talks about, one of my favorite verses says that, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And a lot of people don't, they kind of steer away from sharing their testimony because maybe they're ashamed or embarrassed of some of the things that they've been delivered from, or what God's brought them through, and some of the things they had to face. And but one thing that we focus on is just that. And I think, like you said, that's something that the young people are really looking for. They want truth. And so I think we appeal to a lot of the younger audience because of the fact that we're transparent, and we just speak truth.
Yeah. So with that in mind, so tell us a little bit about what some of the songs that are on this new album that's coming out tomorrow. Give me a little piece of what's happening.
Well, we've got Lost and Found, of course, which you're playing now, and that's our current single. But we also have on there a song called Middle of Nowhere, which will possibly be the second single off that album, which talks about, everybody can relate to the fact that they've been in a place where they felt abandoned, alone, isolated. You've got songs in there that are fun. It's His Love. Everybody's going to love that. It talks about how God's love is bigger than we could ever imagine. You got songs in there like Time and Jesus that talk about being patient. You've got songs on there like Yes, He Can, which addresses the fact that God can do anything. You've got songs on there like Somebody Testify, which is really the cry and the call of I believe the gospel to all Christians, to be witnesses and to testify about God's love. It's got songs in there like You Are God Alone, that really is a worship song on the album. It's the last song, but we wanted to end that album on worship. It's a variety of songs on there, but I'm telling you, there's not a song on there that's a throwaway. It's a blessing.
Awesome, awesome. So obviously pastoring and you got the church there. What is your travel schedule like, tours? How does that kind of work out with you guys?
Well, our staff here at Judah is phenomenal. My wife has stepped up. Seth's wife is very involved in the day-to-day structure of the church. And we have a great team here of associate pastors and ministers that have just, I've been doing this 30 years as myself here at the church as a pastor. And so if you haven't built a team around you in 30 years that can carry this, then you haven't really done your job. And so we're free to go because they have been trained to stay. And so it's just been a great, consistent ministry that has continued here with the passion of the vision rather than the connection to the person. And so it's been a great transition for us.
Yeah, that's been our ministry in dealing with, if after 30 years you haven't built a team, then something's wrong. So you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate what the ministry, not only in your church, but now getting what God's played on your heart to others. Thank you for what you're doing. We're looking forward to doing a lot more with you guys. Now that I know you're in the LaGrange area, we're in the process of looking at doing some concerts in the area. So we will definitely get you guys on the list and see if that's something we can work out to get you here.
Love to do it.
Yeah, we got some pretty big venues in the area for a small town. And so that's our goal, is to be able to get in the big venues and get as many people exposed to what we're doing and what you guys are doing as well.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
I just want to say this real quick. People can go on our social media platforms and find us. And also our website is southbound.live, Live. And so they can see our links to our music and also our concerts and our schedule of traveling touring.
Good. Great for the younger ones to remember to do all those things. I always forget. Of course, I spent half my life there. Internet wasn't even in existence. But anyway, but yeah, definitely want everybody to go to the website, social media, keep up with them, keep up with their schedule. And we want our audience to learn more about you guys, because we really feel like you guys are doing what we feel like is needed out there. So thank you again for what you're doing.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
We
you for having
appreciate
us,
it,
man.
man.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And we'll hopefully look forward to seeing you down the road.
All right.
You
God
too.
bless.
See you guys. Good too.